In this video clip, we're going to look at Let's Encrypt, the Acme protocol, and Certbot. Hello and a really big warm welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the simplest way that you can create certificates and certificates that are signed by a certificate authority. So we're going to be working on an AWS Cloud Ubuntu system and taking a look at Let's Encrypt, the Acme protocol, and Certbot. Come on, let's go through and take a look at some of these terms. Now, the first thing to get our heads around is Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt themselves are operated by the Internet Security Research Group, or ISRG, based in California. It's made up of the following main sponsors: the Mozilla Foundation, the people behind Firefox; the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF; Akamai Technologies; Cisco Systems, yes, that's Cisco Systems; and Automatic. Now, Let's Encrypt was set up to make the internet just a little bit safer and a little bit cheaper. Rather than having to pay for certificates, you're able to get signed certificates from an Internet Certificate Authority for nothing and really easily. It uses the Acme protocol, the automated certificate management environment, and that's been set up by Let's Encrypt. And it also works with Certbot, a Python-based tool that was developed by the Electronic Frontier Foundation to obtain the certificates through the Acme protocol. Now look at this, our glorious Pixel Playground. A Pixel Playground that is based on Ubuntu running in AWS. I also have a DNS record pointing to this IP address. You can't use the DNS host name of the AWS system because obviously they're very transient and can move from one user to another. But if I go through and just check what I've set up, we're using Dig. This system is ubuntu.theurbanpenguin.com. And if we go through and take a look at it, let's say from one of the Google servers, we can go through and put in our @ and then 8.8.8.8. We know then we're getting it from an authoritative source, and we can see then the IP address that is representing this DNS name. So I've already set up the DNS server with the IP address of this host. So we're just about ready to go. And of course, if I go through and try to ping the system, I should get a response, but I haven't set up a PTR record, so we're going to be able to see that it comes back with the PTR record from AWS. But that is okay. It's the host name resolution that we are really interested in. Now, this is a fresh install of Ubuntu, a fresh image. So I'm going to install the Apache 2 web server, and we're going to be able to see how easy it is to generate certificates and sign certificates for the Apache web server. It will also be just as easy for Nginx. So I'm putting on Apache 2, I'm putting on Certbot, and then we're putting on the Python integration with that. So Python 3, Certbot, and Apache. We can allow this to run through. And of course, then our web server is going to be up and running, but by default, it's going to be listening only on port 80, our HTTP port. And there certainly aren't going to be any certificates that are going to be created. So this is done nice and simple. And that really wasn't too difficult, was it? But let's go through and just take a look at our listening ports. So we're going to be able to verify that we're listening on port 80, our HTTP port, but we're not as yet set up with HTTPS. Now, next up, we want to craft an ingenious website. So let's go through and start writing our best HTML. Header 1, it works, ! And then go through and close off my headers. Well, it is kind of a web page, isn't it? But of course, Echo is just going to write to our screen. We want it to write through to our website. So we're using sudo and t and writing through to var www html and then the index.html page. So of course it sends to the screen, but also to the file. And now when we go through and try to connect to our ubuntu.theurbanpenguin.com, we're obviously going to resolve through to the DNS name that we put in, and we can see that we're getting our web page come back. But of course, this is over HTTP. We're going to go through and just take a look inside our configuration files. So if we look at etc and Apache 2, sites available, and then set up our 00default.conf, we haven't really configured anything. We've only installed Apache. So we're going to put in the correct server name. So ubuntu.theurbanpenguin.com. And this is going to help when we set up our HTTPS, because you can look at this server name and copy across these settings. With that done, we're going to restart our web server. So the Apache 2 service. Now that's not going to make a lot of difference. It would cut out one warning where we haven't set out our server name, but at least we're getting our system a little bit more configured. And that's all that we're really going to need to do. The rest we can allow to the certbot wizard. If I go through then using sudo and certbot, -- Apache is then just saying that we want to use the Apache wizard. We can put in our email. And that's, of course, just blurred out. We can accept the terms on conditions. They show you the PDF where you could check it. The EFF would like us to receive news from them. We can say then, well, which do we want to activate HTTPS for? So it's seen then the host name, the server name that I've added in, and it's going to use that. Now look at that. Even the wizard is giving me a congratulations. I don't know if I really should be congratulated. The system did all of the work for me. But would you believe it's created my private key, it's created my certificate request, and it signed the certificate request and started up my web server on port 443 as well. So we can see now that we are listening on port 443. If I go through then to HTTPS ubuntu.theurbanpenguin.com, normally curl's going to give us warnings if it's a wrong certificate, but we can see that we're getting through without any problems at all. So this is looking really good. We can run through and take a look at the configuration file that was added. So if I go through into Apache 2 and then my sites available and then my default site, but now I've got le-ssl.conf, and we can see then that it's added in the server admin, the server name, and the document root. All of this is working with port 443 and mod SSL. And I suppose the final test is to go out and take a look at it with Firefox. We can see then my marvelously crafted page. It works. When we go through and just take a look, we can see then the connection is secure. We can go through and see that it's verified by Let's Encrypt. We're not quite finished yet. There's more stuff that we can check out from the command line. Now, as you begin to play around more with OpenSSL, you'll see there is a lot that you can do using the OpenSSL command, including a server and a client. We can begin with our client by connecting through to our website. So ubuntu.theurbanpenguin.com, making sure that we go through on port 443. And then we can show our certificates. And we're going to be able to see our certificate chain. Now, I don't want to see all of the information, so we can see the top 4 or maybe 5 lines. And we can see then the Internet Security Research Group is the issuing authority. That's been then let down to Let's Encrypt, so our intermediary authority. and then the certificate is issued to ubuntu.theurbanpenguin.com. So we can see our certificate chain starting at the top with the ISRG, moving down to Let's Encrypt, and then finally my server certificate for ubuntu.theurbanpenguin.com.
All that is left to say is thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, then you are probably sadder than I first thought. For more of this drivel, please subscribe, like and comment to @theurbanpenguin.